In the suffocating grasp of a dense and enigmatic jungle, Xena and Gabrielle trudged along a trail shrouded in a dense fog. The air vibrated with eerie cries of unseen creatures and the ceaseless rustling of hidden movements. A cryptic letter had summoned them to this forsaken place, its plea mingled with dire warnings. They now stood amidst an abandoned campsite, encircled by moss-covered statues of Amazon warriors. The atmosphere pulsed with unease, as though the jungle itself held a sinister secret. Their mission was clear yet daunting: to uncover the source of a malevolent force draining the vitality of the Amazons and threatening their existence. Xena's piercing gaze scanned the surroundings with sharp precision, while Gabrielle, gripping her staff tightly, radiated unease. Despite the weight of the unknown, retreat wasn't an option. The survival of the Amazons and the balance of the jungle rested squarely on their shoulders. While investigating the edges of the deserted campsite, a faint sound drew them toward a weathered tent. Weapons at the ready, they approached cautiously. Inside, they found Adara, a young Amazon warrior, bruised and visibly shaken. Her eyes, filled with fear, told tales of unspeakable horrors. Between shallow breaths, she recounted how an invisible entity had been capturing Amazons, draining their essence. From her belongings, Adara produced an ancient map that pointed to a prophecy hidden deep within the jungle. The weight of their mission deepened as Xena and Gabrielle listened, absorbing the gravity of the situation. The jungle seemed unnervingly still as the trio resolved to follow the map, embarking on a perilous journey fraught with danger and uncertainty. Their trek into the jungle grew increasingly treacherous. Vines seemed to move with sinister intent, and thorn-covered branches reached out like claws. Progress was painstaking, and Gabrielle, distracted by aiding Adara, narrowly avoided being ensnared by a predatory vine. Her alarmed cry was met with Xena's swift intervention, her chakram slicing through the danger with precision. Despite her fragile state, Adara insisted they press forward, her determination as strong as their need to succeed. Guided by the map, they moved toward a concealed temple, but an oppressive energy loomed heavier with every step, its unseen presence ever watchful. After hours of navigating hazardous terrain, they reached the temple, half hidden by creeping vines and weathered stone. Intricate carvings covered its walls, their cryptic symbols whispering of a long-forgotten power. Inside, they uncovered a foreboding tale. Thalassa, a banished entity once exiled by the Amazons, sought to break free and wreak havoc. The prophecy warned that her release would devastate the jungle and its guardians. To stop her, they needed to find an amulet imbued with the power to seal her away. Time pressed heavily upon them as they divided their tasks. Xena would search for the amulet while Gabrielle and Adara provided distractions to ensure their mission's success. Within the temple, Xena faced a deadly maze of traps. Blades, powered by ancient mechanisms, sliced through the air with uncanny speed. With unparalleled agility, she navigated the dangers, her focus unwavering. Meanwhile, Gabrielle uncovered an ancient tome containing a ritual to imprison Thalassa. Adara, her strength fading, noticed spectral guardians within the temple, their faces disturbingly familiar. They were Amazons previously taken. Each revelation heightened their awareness of the peril they faced, and the temple itself seemed to pulse with malevolent intent, resisting their presence at every turn. As night descended, the temple turned into a battleground. Shadowy apparitions surged around them, sapping what little energy Adara had left. Xena's physical strikes proved useless against the intangible attackers, forcing Gabrielle to think quickly. Consulting the tome, she performed a rudimentary ritual, creating a barrier that temporarily repelled the shadows. This victory came at a cost. Adara's life force was nearly depleted. The group pressed on, knowing their time was running out and that their next steps would determine the jungle's fate. Adara, summoning her dwindling strength, revealed a critical truth. The amulet they sought was tied to her lineage, and only her bloodline could activate it. This revelation intensified the stakes of their mission. Xena vowed to lead them to the amulet's hidden resting place deep within the jungle. Though danger loomed at every corner and Adara's condition worsened, they pressed forward, determined to complete their quest despite the relentless threats surrounding them. At the jungle's heart, they discovered a cave adorned with luminescent rooms, guarded by a faint barrier. Inside, they were assailed by haunting visions that targeted their deepest fears. Xena saw her loved ones in peril. Gabrielle relived past failures, and Adara felt her life slipping away. Pushing through the illusions, Xena's unwavering resolve led her to the amulet, hidden among ancient stones. However, retrieving it triggered a violent collapse. They barely escaped as the cave crumbled. The amulet clutched tightly in Xena's hand. Returning to the temple, they braced themselves for the final confrontation. As Gabrielle and Adara chanted the ritual's sacred words, Xena defended them against the encroaching shadows. Thalassa, fully manifesting a towering form of malice, emerged from the darkness. The battle was fierce and desperate. Adara, despite her weakened state, persevered and completed the incantation. As the ritual reached its crescendo, the tension was suffocating, and the jungle seemed to hold its breath. A blinding light erupted, consuming the temple and banishing Thalassa's form into oblivion. Though victorious, the aftermath was grim. Adara collapsed, her life hanging by a thread. Gabrielle frantically attempted to revive her as Xena held the now cracked amulet, its dim glow a testament to their success. The jungle fell silent, a bittersweet conclusion to their ordeal. Emerging from the temple, they were met with an awe-inspiring sight. Amazons regaining their vitality and awakening from spectral forms. Adara, barely alive, was carried back to camp by her sisters. Gabrielle walked beside her, offering soft reassurances, while Xena followed, her demeanor somber. Though the Amazons were saved, the cost of their victory lingered heavily in the air. At the camp, the Amazons initiated a healing ceremony for Adara under the moonlight, using sacred herbs and chants. Gabrielle stayed close to Adara, offering comfort, while Xena stood apart, lost in reflection. The tribe celebrated their liberation with triumphant songs that resonated through the jungle. Gabrielle, seeking levity, recounted their adventure with humor, but Xena's solemnity revealed her unresolved burden. When dawn broke, the Amazons invited Xena and Gabrielle to remain and help rebuild their community. Though touched by the offer, Xena declined, knowing their path lay elsewhere. Gabrielle, conflicted, deferred to Xena's wisdom. With heartfelt farewells, they departed, leaving the Amazons in a circle of gratitude and unity. As they retraced their steps through the jungle, Gabrielle discovered a hidden page within the ancient tome. It revealed the existence of an even greater threat, one lying dormant, awaiting its moment to rise. She shared the revelation with Xena, and their exchanged glance spoke volumes. Though their mission was over, it was clear their journey was far from finished. Disappearing into the jungle's depths, Xena's chakram hummed through the air, followed by Gabrielle's laughter. The camera lingered on the temple, its walls aglow with the remnants of their triumph. The jungle resumed its rhythm, but a foreboding question lingered. Would peace endure? As the scene faded to black, the strength of their bond illuminated their future, a promise of resilience for the challenges yet to come. Hidden in the heart of an isolated valley, the village had always been a haven of peace, untouched by the outside world. Its people lived simple, harmonious lives, steeped in tradition and myth. That peace shattered when a merchant, known for his curiosity and greed, ventured into the ruins on the outskirts of the village. Among the crumbling stones, he unearthed a peculiar artifact, a gleaming object covered in ancient, undecipherable symbols. Though it exuded an unsettling aura, the merchant saw only its monetary potential. Returning to the village, he quickly sold the artifact to a cloaked stranger, a figure whose piercing gaze and swift departure unnerved the merchant. Unbeknownst to all, this transaction marked the beginning of their nightmare. The changes began subtly. Shadows seemed to lengthen unnaturally, their edges moving independently of the light. At first, the villagers dismissed the occurrences as tricks of the mind. But then came the sounds, low whispers in the night, distant wails that echoed through the valley. People started disappearing. First, it was a farmer returning home late from the fields, then a group of children playing near the river. By the time the community realized the pattern, terror had taken root. Families barricaded themselves indoors. Others fled to the mountains, seeking safety. The once thriving village became a hollow, fearful shell of its former self. It was during this time of growing despair that Xena and Gabrielle arrived. Having heard whispers of trouble from travelers along their journey, the duo approached the village cautiously. What they found shocked them: empty homes, wandering livestock, and streets devoid of laughter or life. The air itself seemed heavy, charged with an unnatural energy. Meeting with the remaining villagers, they learned of the artifact's discovery and the horrifying events that followed. An elder, his voice trembling, recounted an ancient legend. The artifact, he explained, was a key to the gates of the underworld, forged to seal away Tharos, a malevolent entity who sought to consume the living world. If activated, it would unleash horrors upon humanity. Most had dismissed the tale as a myth until now. Determined to learn more, Gabrielle delved into the elder's collection of relics and manuscripts. Amid faded scrolls and cracked tomes, she discovered a decayed parchment. Though much of it had been destroyed by time, fragments of the text revealed a ritual capable of sealing the gates. However, key details were missing, leaving the instructions incomplete. Meanwhile, Xena took to the outskirts of the village, determined to confront whatever force was haunting them. At twilight, she encountered a shadowy creature, a form that shifted like smoke, yet moved with lethal intent. The battle was fierce, but Xena's weapons proved useless against the creature's incorporeal form. She narrowly escaped, realizing that conventional means would not suffice. Returning to Gabrielle, she shared her findings, and together they resolved to seek out a legendary guardian who, according to the elder, held ancient knowledge of the underworld. Their journey led them to the mountains, where treacherous paths wound through dense forests and sheer cliffs. The oppressive energy of the curse seemed to follow them, the air growing colder and the shadows darker with each step. After days of grueling travel, they arrived at a plateau shrouded in mist. There, they found Eryx, a reclusive figure with a commanding presence. Initially wary of their intrusion, Eryx relented after hearing their plight. With a heavy heart, he revealed the artifact's true nature. Forged with the essence of Tharos himself, the artifact was both a key and a beacon, capable of summoning the ruler of the underworld. To counter its power, they would need the Spear of Light, a weapon of pure energy hidden within ancient ruins guarded by deadly traps. The journey to retrieve the Spear of Light was fraught with peril. The ruins were deep within the jungle, their entrance nearly swallowed by nature's encroaching grasp. The path was treacherous, with collapsing ground and venomous creatures at every turn. At one point, Gabrielle narrowly avoided falling into a concealed pit, saved only by Xena's quick reflexes. Despite their weariness and the looming threat of the shadowy creatures that stalked them, they pressed forward. The ruins, when they finally reached them, were magnificent and foreboding, their walls etched with glowing runes. At the center of the chamber, the Spear of Light rested on a pedestal, its radiant glow illuminating the darkness. The moment Xena removed the spear, the ruins came alive. Walls cracked and crumbled as a swarm of shadowy creatures poured forth, their shrieks filling the air. Wielding the spear, Xena discovered its power. Its radiant energy obliterated the creatures on contact. Yet for every shadow she destroyed, more emerged. Gabrielle fought valiantly alongside her, using her staff to hold off the encroaching horde. Realizing they could not hold their ground, they retreated, narrowly escaping the collapsing ruins with the spear in hand. The ordeal left them shaken but resolute. They now possessed the means to confront Tharos, but the ritual's missing pieces remained a critical challenge. Returning to the village, they found it in ruins. Fire smoldered in abandoned homes, and the few survivors clung to hope as they huddled in makeshift shelters. Xena quickly organized the villagers into a defensive force, teaching them strategies to hold off the creatures, while Gabrielle pored over the remnants of the scroll. Her research yielded a devastating revelation. The ritual to seal the gates required the blood of someone pure of heart. The cost of victory was suddenly, painfully clear, and Gabrielle's resolve began to waver as she contemplated the implications. As night fell, the ground trembled with Tharo's approach. The gates began to open, fiery lights spilling from their cracks. From the abyss emerged Tharos himself, a towering figure wreathed in flame and shadow. His voice boomed, shaking the earth as he proclaimed his intent to claim the mortal realm. Xena charged forward with the Spear of Light, engaging Tharos in a brutal clash. Each strike of the spear sent ripples of energy through the air, but Tharos' strength was immense, his every move a display of unrelenting power. Meanwhile, Gabrielle led the villagers in chanting the ritual, their voices a fragile thread of hope against the rising darkness. As the battle raged, the final step of the ritual loomed, the blood sacrifice. Gabrielle, her voice steady but her heart breaking, prepared to offer herself. Xena, sensing her intentions, shouted in protest, refusing to let her friend make such a sacrifice. Their argument was interrupted by Eryx, who stepped forward with calm determination. Revealing his true purpose as the guardian of balance, he declared that his life was meant for this moment. Despite their protests, he knelt before the gates, his resolve unshaken. Eryx's sacrifice was swift and selfless. As his blood touched the ground, the ritual's power surged. The gates trembled, their fiery glow dimming as Tharos let out a roar of rage. Light engulfed the battlefield, forcing the shadowy creatures back into the abyss. Tharos, weakened by the ritual, was dragged back toward the gates, his form dissolving as he fought against his banishment. With a deafening crack, the gates slammed shut, sealing the underworld once more. In the aftermath, silence fell over the village. The artifact crumbled to dust, its power extinguished. The shadowy creatures vanished, leaving behind an eerie calm. Xena and Gabrielle stood among the ruins, their faces etched with grief for Eryx's sacrifice. The villagers, though battered, began to rally, their survival a testament to their resilience. Together, they erected a monument in Eryx's honor, ensuring that his bravery would never be forgotten. As the villagers began rebuilding their lives, Xena and Gabrielle prepared to leave. The villagers hailed them as heroes, though both women remained humble. Gabrielle kept the remnants of the scroll as a reminder of their journey and the lessons they had learned. Reflecting on the fragility of the balance between life and death, they vowed to continue their fight against the forces that sought to disrupt it. On the road once more, they encountered a mysterious hooded figure who carried news of another dangerous artifact threatening the world. Though weary from their ordeal, Xena and Gabrielle knew they could not ignore the call to action. With renewed determination, they set off, ready to face the challenges ahead. As they disappeared into the distance, the camera lingered on the village's monument to Eryx, a symbol of sacrifice and hope. The wind carried a whisper, "The battle for balance never ends." The scene faded to black as the sound of Xena's chakram slicing through the air echoed, heralding the start of a new adventure.